Hi there, and greetings from beautiful Koh Tao Island, Thailand. So in this video I'm going to be answering to the best of my ability and knowledge and experience the question of who or what is God. Not exactly a lightweight, simple subject to tackle, but I'll do my best here. So this is based on just my own personal experiences as well as various reading and research I've done on the part of others, various sources just over the past couple of decades of my own personal inner searching. So the most simple, straightforward, obvious explanation of who or what God might be is that God is love, God is consciousness, God is light, God is everything, God is the universe. But I'd like to offer a simple little analogy that I came up with that might help shine a different light on the concept of God and our own role and relationship with God and with the universe, and how we fit into the puzzle, as it were, of reality and creation. So here's the deal. Imagine that this consciousness or love or light has a form, and I just picked this at random. Imagine that you have a beautiful vase, an exquisite, perfect vase that's sitting on a pedestal. And this vase, however, is not God in this analogy. This vase I'm going to call Oneness. You could call the vase God if you wanted, but for the purposes of making a distinction, then we're going to call this beautiful vase that's sitting on a pedestal Oneness. Now imagine that you have a baseball bat, and you take this baseball bat and you take a swing at this vase as hard as you possibly can. One swing straight through the vase, and you send that vase scattering in every direction into a million, billion, trillion tiny little pieces. So this is what science calls the Big Bang. This is the beginning of the universe as we know it, of separation and differentiation and contrast. Now imagine that one particularly large piece of this vase is kept intact. So it goes flying off in a million little pieces, but there's one chunk of this vase that's a pretty large piece that is kept intact. That is God. And the reason is that we, as individual human spirits, or just individual spirits, would be like one of the little flecks or pieces of this vase, or even just a tiny little particle, little piece of powder that went flying off. And so we see this large piece of the vase that's left over, or maybe we don't see it, we sense it, we intuit it, we imagine through some general sense within that there is this other larger presence. We see this piece of the vase that's kept intact, and we think, oh, this magnificent, incredible being before us, and we call that God. And so there's a number of different things that can be taken away from this analogy. The first is that we are every bit as much a part of the oneness as is God. There's a tendency to think there's this God out there, and then God created me, and so God is so magnificent and superior and beyond my comprehension, or so much different from me, whereas we are actually the same thing. We are part of the same original being or thing or creation that God came from. We are all a part of the oneness. We are all an essential part of the oneness. But God, this larger piece, is more intact, has a greater amount of its own presence all together to work with, and so has a greater, more expanded perspective on what happened on this shattering of the oneness, and so has a, you could call it, superior view of what happened and what needs to happen in order to bring things back into oneness. And that's really the ultimate goal of the universe, is to eventually bring this separation back into a state of oneness. Now, this separation, as I understand it, was a conscious choice, a desire on the part of a unified singular consciousness, a being of oneness that God originally was as this beautiful, perfect vase. God had this desire to experience separation for the contrast, to know who he or she really was in order to understand what that meant to be oneness by experiencing something in contrast to that oneness, and so decided to have this experience of separation. And then the second thing to take away from this analogy is that even as we are equally a part of the oneness, as is God, still God is a greater, larger, more magnificent being and has a more expanded perspective. And God understands what occurred and also has a desire to ultimately come back together into oneness, into that perfection of all being together and all being whole that was his/her original state of being. Now, this is where the analogy sort of breaks down, because you can't take a vase that has been shattered into a million trillion little pieces and put it back together seamlessly. But this being of consciousness that we all are a part of can go back together into that original state that it came from. And so this is the ultimate goal of God and of this universe, is for all these shattered little pieces to eventually come back together into oneness once again, from this state of being scattered across the universe into all these different forms, different differentiations, different beings. And so God is pulling the parts of his self that he's lost, and I'll just say he, just because I have to say one or the other. And as God pulls these parts of himself back together, then the individual pieces are mirroring that. Because we are all a part of the same entity and are all connected, then as the momentum goes back towards oneness, then we are, those of us who are choosing to, those of us who desire to as well, those of us who are sensing this transition occurring, are taking advantage of the momentum, as it were, as the wave as it's coming, and are also seeking to pull the parts of ourselves back together in the general direction of moving back into that oneness. And so the ultimate resolution will be, as we draw the parts of ourselves back together, eventually it will all merge back together as individual spirits. Then we will merge back into God, and it will come back into that state of ultimate oneness. But all pieces have to come back together. Every little tiny little scattered fragment of this original consciousness has to come back together. And not all of spirit, of consciousness, has that same desire at this time. And so there are parts of this original consciousness which are still moving away, still flying apart in separation, because that is their choice, because they are a part of God. That which we call God, this larger piece, doesn't control everything. It doesn't decide what other pieces have to do. they are a part of the oneness as much as God is a part of the oneness, and they have, now that they are individual beings, seemingly, they have free will, and it is up to them to decide when they want to merge back into the oneness. And so there is a differentiation of movement occurring of some spirits, some pieces of this consciousness still moving away and being fine with that and preferring that and choosing to fly off away from God. And there are other parts of this consciousness which are seeking to reverse that momentum and go back the other way from the flying apart and come back towards a state of oneness. So there you go. That's my just kind of general take and understanding on what may be occurring. Certainly it is a very multifaceted, complex topic to explore, and there is a lot more to it than can be covered in the course of 10 minutes or so. Feel free to share your thoughts below the video, and I'll see what else comes to mind on this topic. Maybe I'll do a part 2 on it. But thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care.